Okay, up next, Michael Pack talking about real-time work zone performance monitoring.
It's work zone day here at the National Academies. So at the CATT lab, we built something called the Work Zone Performance Monitoring Application. It's a real-time monitoring tool for work zones, and it's supposed to be a simple way to be able to go in and figure out what's happening at your work zone so you can make better decisions for whether or not you should actually have that work zone, that lane closure permit active or not. And it uses vehicle probe data and active work zone information from the DOTs. This thing was actually funded by the Maryland State Highway Administration, and they had several different users or classes of users at State Highway that wanted to know more about work zones. First was project engineers and managers. So they wanted to be able to see real time what was going on. They wanted to be able to receive alerts that told them that there was some sort of a problem out in the work zone. And then they wanted to have some actionable information, something that they could do about that. And then for planners and decision makers, they wanted to be able to look back a little in time, figure out the performance of the work zone so that they can then plan better for the future. And for public relations, like public information officers, they wanted a tool whereby the PIOs could go in and see what's happening at the work zones so they could respond to citizen complaints and inquiries more quickly. So to accomplish this, we leverage our Rideth platform, and for those who haven't heard my spiel about this yet, Rideth is essentially a big data fusion engine. So we go out and we grab data from anyone and everyone we possibly can. So that's probe data, it's connected vehicles data, transit data, maintenance data, period dispatch, weather data, you name it. We try to grab it in real time, bring it in, standardize it, fuse it, and then make it available through different types of applications. Some of them are real time, some of them are archived, but that's the gist of it. And so with that, you get this comprehensive picture, hopefully comprehensive picture, of what's going on in your neck of the woods, and it's interactive, and you can click on things and see what's happening. But to get to the work zone dashboard, we have this little crummy little acronym here, WZPMA. Not the best interface, but you click on that, and when you click on that, this application pops up. And I'm going to go into detail about what's in each one of these screens, but this is essentially a live view of what's happening in your neck of the woods. So it's broken up into different sections. On the left-hand side, you have this overview list that kind of just tells you what's happening in the state. In the upper right-hand corner, you have this list of really bad, really poor performing work zones. Then you have a location map that helps you figure out where you are and what you're looking at. And then the lower right-hand corner has this delay, user delay cost, per vehicle mile travel, that type of statistics down there. So let's look at each one of those panels individually. So on the left-hand side, you have the overview list. And so what you're seeing is the state, then the county in the state, and while this was paid for initially by the Maryland State Highway Administration, this has now been deployed to, I think, 10 or 12 different states. So you can collapse the state of Maryland, and then other states then pop up below it. But then within Maryland, you have all these counties, and you have which work zones are in each county. And there's some other information that's off to the side, which we'll come to in just a second. So you'll see these little lines that go from 0 to some number, and then little arrows that are on them. What that is essentially a list of the queues that are occurring right now. So for this particular work zone, it's telling me that the maximum queue that's ever occurred at this work zone has been 2 miles long, whereas the maximum queue at this work zone down here was 1 mile long, and some of them were 3, some of them were 10, just depends on the region. And then the little arrow and the number is telling you how bad the queue is right now. So this queue is 0.34 miles long, and the arrow is turning to the right, which means the queue is currently getting worse. Same thing here, 0.04 miles long, and it's getting worse. Down here on the lower right section here, we've got a queue that is now 1.38 miles long, and the arrow is going to the left, which means the queue is getting better. It's getting smaller, and the maximum queue here has been 3 miles. Then there's some other information that's to the right and left of that. To the left is the number of nearby incidents. So this would be a cumulative list of the number of collisions, disabled vehicles, other stuff that has happened within the work zone or very, very close to the work zone. And so some of these work zones have been in existence for 20 minutes. Some of them have been in existence for like 2 or 3 years. So that number can be really small, or it can literally be in the hundreds sometimes. And then on the far right corner, you have the total user delay cost for the life of the work zone. So right now this is $5,000, almost $6,000. Some of them will be in the millions of dollars, just depending on how long that work zone has been active. And a work zone can become active, disabled, and then come back active again. As long as we have a unique identifier for it, we will continue to track it for years and years. And then up at the top, this gray bar right here, if I back up, that gives you the cumulative list for the state or for the county. So how much user delay cost for this county, how much for the entire state, so on and so forth. So then in the bottom of the dashboard, there's a little map, and the map's pretty basic. It just shows you real-time speeds, any sort of ITS devices that you might have, cameras, variable message signs. You can click on the road and it'll pop up, the current speed readings if you've got probe data, and it'll show you what's been going on over the last 12 hours or so and how that compares to historic conditions, which lanes are closed, that sort of stuff. Then in the upper right-hand corner of the dashboard is what we call the top critical work zones. So you have the ability to go in and say, I really only care if my work zones have a queue of 3 miles or more. If that happens, then I want to see this work zone pop up in a special list. Or if the user delay cost goes above X, put it in this list. And you can create 2 different severity levels, like major and critical. And those pop up there for you to look at. In addition to the stuff we showed you in the other panel, this one shows you a little queue graphic so you can see what's been going on. This has been steadily increasing. That's going down. It also shows you the lane status and which lanes are currently blocked at that location. Then in the lower right-hand section, you can go in and define corridors that you're interested in general. So this isn't all the corridors that are covered by the work zones. You can just pick like between 1 and maybe 8 or 10 or something like that. So I've chosen these 4 corridors, and it sums up for the last 7 days how much user delay cost has been on each corridor in each of these work zones. And you can put your mouse over it, and it gives you some extra information. You can also edit which corridors are shown here, and you can change what's displayed in this table, whatever is important to you. So bringing it back into perspective again, this is what the dashboard looks like. You've got your overview list over here. You've got your critical and major work zones, the map, and then the user delay cost table. So that's the overview, but then you can go in and you can click on any one of these individual work zones, and in doing that, a new window pops up. And this new window gives you specific information about this one work zone. So again, breaking this down, we got different panels, a settings panel, another map, a road diagram, performance charts, and another user delay cost table. So nothing too exciting here, but the settings panel allows you to change what is displayed on the screen, how much information is being shown, how far upstream or downstream of the work zone you want to actually look, and other stuff. The road diagram essentially draws out the road, shows you where the work zone is, how many lanes there are. It will also show you what the speeds are for each segment of the roadway. If there's any bottlenecks that are forming, it'll show you the bottlenecks. If you're giving us your posted speed limit data, we can show you what the speed limits are. So sometimes you have variable speed limits through work zones. You drop the speed, we can show you what that is. If you have a camera out there, we show you the camera location. You can put your mouse over it and then the live video pops up. We are not archiving the images like Skylar from Iowa is doing. That would be very cool, but we're not doing that. And if there's any other nearby events or variable message signs, you can click on those and see them as well. The other thing that's neat is you can look at the raw speed readings, and we'll color code the road based on that, or we can give you speed comparisons. So we'll recolor the road and tell you how different the speeds are today compared to historic averages for this minute of the day. That's kind of neat. So then in the top right-hand section, you have a series of charts and graphs that pop up that allow you to look at things like the queue length, the travel time, or the speeds, and you can look at that through the work zone or on the opposite side of the work zone. So it'll show you a graph of what's been happening today for whichever measure you chose. And then there's another 7 graphs under it that show you the same information for the prior 7 days. And when you put your mouse over any particular point in time, it then puts a little dot at the same point in time on the other graph. So you can try to figure out, whether today is better or worse than the past 7 days. And in the lower right-hand corner, you then get to look at the user delay cost specific to that work zone for the past 7 days. And it breaks it down in 4-hour increments. And last but not least, we do understand that a lot of people don't want to sit in front of a computer and stare at this dashboard all day long. So we give you the option to go in and define alerts. So, send me a text message or an email if the following conditions are met. So maybe if there's an accident that occurs within some number of miles upstream or downstream, or if there's a bottleneck that's head or queue includes the work zone, you can specify how long the queue needs to be before you care about it. Or maybe you care about if the speeds go above or below some sort of a threshold for longer than 5 minutes or something like that. And then you can also specify only certain days of the week or times of the day for when you want to receive a text message or email. So that's the tool. It's just been deployed within the last month, and it's been getting some pretty positive feedback thus far. We have an application quick reference guide that we've put together for our users to make it a little bit easier for them. Requirements for using the application: it's built into our Rideth platform, so you have to be using Rideth. You have to be providing us with your work zone data, meaning where are the work zones? What time do they start? What time do they end? That sort of stuff. We don't have that. We can't do much for you. And then you also need to be purchasing probe data from someone. Right now, we accommodate HERE and INRIX data. We're working on TomTom, but we don't have that working just yet. And providing all of that to us in our analytics then allows you to use the work zone monitoring tool. So that's it. If you have any questions, I'll be here all week, and send me an email or whatever. I'm here. That's it.
Thank you. We have 1 minute for questions about this.
Lynn?
Michael, can you set the alerts up differently for different types of day?
For different types of what?
For different times of day?
Yes. So you could have Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And you can have an unlimited combination of days and times.
Right. More I meant, so say I care about the speed falling below a certain level during rush hour, but during non-rush hour I care about it falling below some other level.
Good question. I don't know. I've never tried that. Maybe. I'll experiment with that afterwards.
All right.
We have, yes, Finn.
Question, the user delay cost dashboard, you showed like $4.95 or whatever. Is that cumulative for all work zones on that road?
So on the overview, the very first one, that is cumulative for all work zones on that road. When you go to an individual work zone, it's just for that one work zone, yeah. And when we unveiled this and started showing it to people, someone asked a question that, I don't know why we didn't think of this, but someone said, well, this is great for work zones, but wouldn't a DOT want to see this for any incident that's going on in a region? So, what's the user delay at this particular incident? And the answer is yes. So now we're looking at ways to make this available for any sort of incident or disabled vehicle or what have you to be out there.
This can also be used for any situation. You don't have to have an incident. This tool can also be used just to monitor whatever traffic condition and then show.
Well, sure, that is true. We have another suite of tools that allows you to ask these types of questions of any roadway, anytime. You're absolutely right. But it's not in this dashboard format. But good point.
All right, well, thank you again.
You want to reintroduce them?